All right, so tonight we're going to model our one of the two examples. We'll do the other one next class, but the next project is going to be building off of what we just did, working with hinges and joints. We're also going to be importing hardware, so examples like screws, bolts, and stuff, through the insert tool of insert McMaster-Carr component. That's going to bring in actual models of real life screws and hardware that you can build into your project. So if you were to 3D print or if this were to actually go into like manufacturing, you would already have what hardware you want and where to actually purchase it. So really neat option. So one of the examples and what we're going to go through tonight is a pair of pliers. Now this is modeled off of an old pair of Needle-Nose Pliers. I'm going to be modeling a different one tonight, but I did bring in hardware for this, which is much too large because the original is actually pinned in place, but you can see different components, and I will hide the part that I built so you can see what actually comes in through the McMaster-Carr option. It brings in, I used a little button head cap screw and a locking washer. Kind of irrelevant for the information itself, but neato that that's how it comes in. Unlike the models we worked with for the phone stand, where you could download a model and import, where it came in as a mesh, these are actually solid objects. So like if they were created exactly the way we have been working this semester so far. But just to show you what I built is a pair of pliers using the same things as far as joints and such. I grounded the bottom. So that component, you right click, and if I ungrounded it, that would be the thing, but it is grounded. So when I grab the other component, oops, that I accidentally grabbed the sketch, it works within the joint constraints I've already put in, and it moves exactly like intended. And that's just me clicking and dragging. When I release it, it does ask if I want to capture the new position. I do not, so I'll select revert, and it'll snap back to where it was. Now, so far, this was just a quick rough model I used as an example before. The other example I have is what we'll be modeling next class. This is of a hinged lid. Now, I just created just a basic lid, and we created actual hinge points, and then I imported hardware, a threaded rod, and two different caps. These are put in place, the caps onto the threaded rod, with what's a rigid joint. You can see as I expand the joints here, I have multiple joints within this. Rigid joints, unlike the ones we used on your bottles, rigid joints basically just locks the two together like if on a threaded rod to a threaded nut, if they were just screwed on. The hinge joint, however, is more akin to your the bottles, only instead of it being, a screw cap, this is a hinge. So when I grab when I select and drag the lid, it opens and closes, and you can see internally it has a recess and all that such. So, and if I want to leave it, you know what? Yeah, I will leave it as that. I'll capture the new position just for grins. So this is one of the other examples. I will post this assignment tonight. As I said, wasn't sure if we were going to get to this tonight or not. So I'll post this tonight, and we're going to start the modeling walkthrough with the pliers. So this is what we're working with tonight. I grabbed a different pair of pliers. This is just a little cheapy store-bought one, but we're going to try and model it as completely as we can. And that means complete with the little cutting section here and notches and that sort. So to do that, I started a new example. And we'll get to the hinges, or we'll get to the hardware and such. Now, just like my original example, this pair of pliers, you can see, does not have a spot for a screw. It's just pinned in place and then ground flat. So I'll probably just add something in there just to give you an example. All righty, so let's start from here. And by the way, those examples are already in the new folder, number 5, hinged tool. All right. So first things first, we need to build a set of sketches and such just to figure out what I'm doing. Now, what I'd recommend, especially in a tool like this that has like a spring or something, just hold it closed and first as I like to do, I like to just get a measurement of just generally how big is this thing. All right, it's about 135 millimeters long, just measuring it with a ruler. So first things first, before I start any sketches or sorry, before I start any components or anything, I'm just going to put a sketch down that's going to show me how large the thing is. So sketching on the bottom plane, looking at top here, and I'm going to start a center rectangle. So it was 135 millimeters long. Then I'm going to measure the widest point, which is the handles, and that is 50 millimeters wide. Great. So I do want that to be a construction line because I just want that to be a reference point. So I'm going to double click on this front on just one, double click on them, and it selects the whole box. I'm going to switch that to a construction line. That changes it to dotted lines. That's all. I just want that as a reference. I might go ahead and take some take some other measurements just for reference points within this sketch. And what I'm going to do is now I want to sketch just where is that center hinge? Where is the center of that from a reference point? If this is what you like to do it, great. I just like to get my major parts down. So on one sketch, and then I'm going to start building on a separate set of sketches. That way this is there on one sketch and I can hide it, whatever I want to do, but it's always going to be there for me. It's reliable like that. All right, so measuring from the tip of the needles to where the center of that hinge is, it's 45 millimeters. And it's a great thing from buying imported tools. They're usually in metric. All right, so I'm just going to draw a line. So I just use the line tool, and I'm going to start modeling it from the left. So when I mouse over that far vertical line, which appears vertical in this sketch, my cursor switches to an X when I'm intersecting that line. And then when I get to the center, it pops the little triangle icon that shows it's right in the midpoint between. Drawing over, start drawing over, and I enter 45. There we are. That is now 45 millimeters over. So I know that when I get started, my hinge will be right in the center there. I'm going to turn that into a construction line as well. So I'm going to select that line type, construction, or you can press X on your keyboard. Okay. That's all I wanted to draw for right now. And project done. No, I'm just kidding. That just gives me my major reference points. Now I can start other sketches or other components, anything like that. And that is shared. So what I mean by shared is this set of sketches belongs to the main component set. Anytime I create other components, those can contain their own sketches, their own bodies, all of that, just like we've been working with this so far. And especially with the loft project, you saw that you can have shared parts and then create components from sketches if you like. So what that means is I could sketch one side of this just as is, and then create a component from that. Or you could create the component separately, go there. That's one of those that it really doesn't matter. It's really your preference, especially when we're just modeling this. So have this part for now. Let's get started on the rest. So now I need to start modeling one side of this pair of pliers. Now remember, if you're doing pliers, scissors, anything like that, one side of the jaws goes to the opposite handle. Don't try to model everything on the left and everything on the right. It models one side goes to there, the other to the other. It operates in a crisscross section there. And I just dropped the pliers. All right. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it one way, and you can maybe choose to do it a different way. What I'm going to do normally, as we've been working, I would create sketches, or sorry, I would create components immediately and start working on one and then the other. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to model, or I'm going to sketch one side of the pliers. I'm going to then extrude that and create, and then I'm going to take that extrusion make its own bot or its own component from that. Then I'm going to go back and mirror the sketch so that it's opposite. So I then would have two complete sides and create a component from there. The reason I'm doing it that way is I have run into problems in the past of mirroring sketches, and it can do weird things, meaning that I don't know why, but I have had sketches, it mirrors it, but then it also rotates at 180 degrees. I still haven't figured out why it does that. It's got to be a glitch in the program, or I'm just really doing something wrong. Don't know. But anyway, so let's get started with making one side here. So I have not created any new components yet. I'm going to create the components from bodies, from the extrusions themselves. But I am going to start a new sketch. So if you want, expand the sketch out. I'm going to rename this first sketch as just template. That just lets me know that's the background. That's all it is. Starting a new sketch, same side. I'm going to rename this immediately as side 1. Just helping myself out. Okay. Best thing to do if you're making something that's out of a hinge or something like that, I like to model that center first. So right there, smack in the middle. How big is that circle? That is looks to be about a 13 millimeter circle. All right, starting from a center diameter circle. Remember, I'm not working from the center of my rectangle. I'm working from the center of this little line here, because that's going to represent where the pliers themselves are. So that's going to be 13 millimeters large. Okay. I am going to now draw a straight line from the end of that circle out to what will become the tip of my needle-nose pliers. All right. I don't want to extend that just yet, but I do want to measure the tip, and that is teeny. So that's like, each side is like, let's say 2 millimeters tall. Okay. Draw a line up. I'm only working on one side for right now. So it's going to be 2 millimeters. I can input 2, bloop. There we are. Where'd it go? I don't know. I think I accidentally did what I wasn't supposed to. I don't know. All right. 2 millimeters in that direction. There we are. Okay, there it is. I don't know why it disappeared on me. Whatever. All right, so I had that little line. Now what I'm going to do, from the center of that circle, now this gets a little tricky because the side of my pliers doesn't go straight to that circle. It kind of juts up, moves over a little bit. So I'm going to kind of have to finagle this sketch a little bit here. So overall, the overall actual width of the top of these pliers is not that 13 millimeter, but it's more like 16 millimeters tall. So this is where you might have to start like creating boxes and things like that and trimming them apart. And let me show you what I mean by that. To figure out how big I want to make this, I know that this pair of pliers themselves has like a rectangle around this, but I can't really put it right in the middle because it doesn't really actually go there because it has these ground flat sides. You find a different pair of pliers, you model them as best as you can. But I do know that drawing straight up, starting a center line, like I just said, this is actually 16 millimeters wide. So I'll draw it as 8 millimeters going straight up. Okay. Then from there, it comes out a bit, but it's really hard to tell because it's just like hard to get my ruler down to where I want to be. So what I'm going to do is, instead of just this line, I'm going to just start a rectangle, and I'm going to make it as a 2-point rectangle. And I'm going to start right in the center. It's going to go, I have to make sure that it is, let me tab over, make sure, yep, 8 millimeters tall. But from here, oops, I didn't mean to do that. I can just click and drag this side because it's not defined yet. And I'm just going to make it like, I don't know, a size. I just drug it over there. Remember, you can add the actual dimensions by sketch dimension. And I want that's, nope. Let me escape out of that. That's the side I want to have a sketch dimension. What is that showing now? It's like 16 point something, 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 something. I'm just going to kind of estimate from the center over, and it's looking like it's, I don't know, 10, 15. We'll go 15. Cool. Okay. So let me escape out of that. So that first little line, I didn't actually need to have there, but that's okay. But now I know that this is roughly the size. So now I can draw a, would I call that a straight line? Yeah, sure. Now I can draw a straight line from the tip of that, what will become the point of the needle nose, up to there. All right. Now we're starting to sketch something. Now, double check that you do actually have a closed line here, which I do, or a closed profile rather. Great. You can always come in here and trim up. Like if I want to add a fillet here between there and there, 0.5. Yeah, sure. That's reasonable. Just a little round over. But what I was talking about trimming parts and such, what I'm seeing in this pair of pliers, I'm not sure how close y'all can see, but it doesn't come flat across. I'm trying to make this little notch and such here. I'm not going to get to that just yet. So I'm going to start working on the other pliers, or the other side. But remember, I'm working on the top of this plier, but the handle doesn't go up to this one. It goes down and to the opposite side. So now I need to start sketching this handle. That's what I mean. It gets making the pliers gets a little confusing because you have to work at crisscross here. But that's why I'm starting it with all of these constraints and sketches and parts. So, all right. So I know that, well, for one, this doesn't come straight out, but I'm going to start it straight out just to help myself out a little bit here. So going out from that circle, it comes out at least, looks to be about, we'll say 13 millimeters. All right. So starting a line at that edge, go out 13. Great. Okay. Nope, nope, nope. Escape. Don't want anything else. All right. So now I'm going to make another line down here, but I'll do that after I get the rest of it, meaning that I'm going to make the bottom of this handle here. And remember, I started the top with a bit of a rectangle. I'm going to do the same for the bottom. So what that probably means is I didn't need to make that line right there completely. That's fine. All right. So another rectangle starting at the center, but I'm going down this way. So this rectangle does go all the way to where that first one was, meaning that first line. So outwards from the circle, it was 13. Right now, because I'm measuring from the center, it's 19.5. Okay, cool. I'll tab over. And this is the part that I know is the same as the other one. That's supposed to be 8. Okay. So now I'm starting my crisscross here. And now I'm going to make this little offset. How wide is this gap entirely? It's about 4 millimeters. Cool. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to make a line here, and I'm going to make sure that line is 2 millimeters lower. And what I can do is I can just draw this separate. That works. Super good. And I want to measure from there to there and make sure that that's actually where it needs to be. So I measure from that point to that point. It's 2.1. And that's pretty close. So, but I actually want it to be 2. So what I'm going to do, let me zoom in. I'm going to draw a line, and I'm going to immediately switch this to a construction line. I'm going to start there at that center vertex, draw it down to 2, move the line or rotate the line so it's matching there. Great. Hit escape. Now, what I want to do is I want to select this line, and this is the one, this is going to be my offset here. And I'm just going to drag this up to where it meets that line there, that point. So what I can do is I can grab this vertex, see if it'll let me do it. Nope, nope, nope. And click and drag and drop it up there. There we go. So now it's 2 millimeters off. So I'll eventually be able to trim all of this excess away, but now I'm able to move it into where it needs to be. So that's how you can use construction lines They're separate from the lines you already have, but you can use those as reference points to where if you were just eyeballing things, you could move it over to a certain distance using that line. I find them super helpful. All right. So from here, now making the handle, honestly, I recommend just kind of freehanding it. I know that the handle is going to start right here, and it needs to end at this side of my original sketch box. How wide are the handle points at the end? Let me measure that. It's about 22. Okay. So I'm going to draw a line. It's a construction line. If the whole gap is 22, then one side is 11. Match it up there. Hit escape just because I don't want anything else. But now I have that point. So I know that I can draw a line from here to here, and that's going to be my overall handle. And this is where I was saying, yeah, just kind of freehand this one. This one is a little bit difficult. So, or to actually take measurements. So I'm going to use a fit point spline. I'm going to start where the handle begins and just eyeball it. I know that it needs to come down, keep coming down. It dips below that point, and then at some point it comes back up to there. Yeah, that looks about right. Sure. Oops, I had the construction line still on. So to reverse that, select the line you just drew, either press X on your keyboard or on the sketch palette toolbox, check construction line, and now it's a solid line again. Great. Now I'm going to use the offset tool and create my other line out here. And I'm just going to kind of estimate how wide is my handle. Now, this pair of pliers has this rubbery handle surface on it, so do your best. Yeah, it looks to be about 10. So, wow, really? 10 millimeters? That is thick. That is not correct. Oh, yeah, because I measured it with the thing closed. Okay. So we'll shrink that because I guess that rubber handle thing is a lot thicker than it looks. We'll say more like 8. Yeah, that's a bit more reasonable. Or realistically, I know that it needs to be at least as large as my box that I built. So somewhere between there. All right. Like 9? Cool. Perfect. And it still had it as a construction box, so, or a construction line. So we'll deal with that. Yep. Now everything is defaulting to that. All right. So let me select that line, turn it back to a regular line. There we go. Now, because I offset, it does have this additional line over here. Need to make sure to disable that construction line thing entirely. So I'm going to trim that off. So just trim that away. Yes, you get a warning because it changed something. That's okay. From here, what I'm going to do, let me hit escape. I'm going to see if I can tweak this line a little bit so that it matches up a little bit better over here. I don't know if it'll let me actually, because it's an offset of this line. I might just have to draw something new and trim them together. Yeah, we'll have to do that. Okay, that's fine. So in playing with, or in just eyeballing what I have here with this plier, I'm going to start a construction line, fit point spline somewhere here-ish, and I'm just going to kind of fiddle with it until I get something I kind of like. About there? Because it does have this odd little grind to it and such. So yeah, that's okay. So I can move this line around a little bit, the end vertices around. That one, if I want it to blend with this line a little bit better, I'll zoom in and adjust the handlebars a little bit and just kind of tweak it so they kind of match together a little bit better. Yeah, that looks not terrible. Okay, hit escape. We're all done there. All right. Last thing is making something here at the back. Similar fashion to what I just did there. This isn't a perfect end, and where I measure to is actually a point between. So yeah, let's just kind of estimate that. I'm going to do another fit point spline, and we'll start it somewhere back here. And this is what I mean by some of these parts. Yeah, you just kind of do your best, see how it works. That's about right. Oops, I didn't mean to hit escape. I meant to hit enter. Do that again. Just trying to draw this as best I can, make it fit. Now, actually, what I do want to try to make up is this has this little point. So when they were made, they were dipped in liquid, and then that's just kind of the drip that comes off. So I'll do 2 separate lines. Move to there, and then I'll do another fit point spline somewhere there-ish. Sure. And just have them both meet at the same point. Okay. Yeah, that looks not awful. All right. So remember that if it's a closed sketch, you will have this blue haze over your what you're working on. Now let's start trimming. So first I'm going to hide the template square just so that's out of the way. This projection stays there because I drew a line over it. So it's reading as it's sharing. There's still construction lines. It's all right. This, you can ignore this line here. It's not a problem. What I do want to trim are these solid lines. So let's get with the trim tool. I'll chop that one away, chop that one away, chop that one away. That one too. There we go. All right, now zooming in here. Remember my pliers here. I'm trying to make this gap here. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to make this gap right there. So now I want to get rid of this line. Come on. Oh, I drew a couple of lines there. Great. Now I'm going to start trimming some chunks away from inside the circle. And now technically to extrude this, you wouldn't have to do this, but it definitely cleans up your workspace. So I'm going to just start trimming lines away that are inside of this circle. All right. And then I want to get that little chunk and these little chunks. Great. You see now all this is just one clean open space. Same thing for up here for the pliers. And trim that section. Yeah, you'll get some warnings because remember that was originally made as a rectangle. So that's why that's there. Okay. Last part I want to do is I want to make these little notches. These represent stops for the pliers. Does that make sense right there? I'm trying to make these little notches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a line, because what those are is they're basically, if I can line this up here, it's basically the ruler. It's basically a straight line going straight up and down, and it's rotated from that center. So I'm going to make a line that's larger than my sketch, rotate it over about, we'll just eyeball this. And then trim corners of the top and bottom here. Now, I don't have to do both sides because I'm only making one side right now. I'm only sketching one side of the pliers. So first, I need a line, and I'm going to start much larger, but it needs to be out of the center here. So what you can do, if you want to locate a sketch line or something like that over a point, see, if I was just trying to draw up here, I wouldn't be able to really grab it. But, and it is actually popping up now. But if I mouse over with the tool I want, so the line tool, I'm going to mouse over the center of that circle. So it registers a point, but I'm not clicking anything. Now I'm just moving my mouse up here. And when my cursor gets in line with the center of that circle, it automatically shows a construction line, a little reference line. That is exactly what I want. So I'm going to start a line up here and then just move somewhere down. Just make sure that it is vertical. If you want to make it a solid number, we'll say 26, sure, great. There you go. Okay. Nope, hit escape because I don't want another line. All right. So I have this line here. Select this. Now I want to rotate this line. So use the move tool. And I want to rotate it, but see, it's just selecting like up here. It's wherever I selected it. So if you want to rotate something from a certain point, look on your toolbox and you'll see the fourth option down. It says set pivot. I can select there, and now I can select where I want that object, in this case, a line, to rotate from. And I want it to rotate from right in the center. All right. Now I can move or rotate from there. And see if it'll, and now it's not doing it. Why isn't it actually showing me my line? Because it has constraints and stuff on it. All right, let's try just rotating. Come on. Yeah, but you're not moving from the center. Ugh. Hate when this happens. Great. Okay. Now, probably because, no, that shouldn't matter. Why isn't it letting me do that? Move that point. I want it to pivot from smack in the middle. Okay. Why isn't it moving? Goody. All right, let's try something here. No, it's not letting me do anything. Well, that is just the best.
I think if you uncheck that now, the green box, it should be there. Yeah.
Oh.
It's like asking you now where you want to set the pivot, and then if you want to set it at a degree, and then you uncheck it and you can pivot.
Right. Knew I should have walked through this before I started. Thanks very much, Andy.
Yeah, no problem.
God. Could only keep so much stuck in my head at one time. All right, there we go. So uncheck the pivot point, or the set pivot. Appreciate that. Ugh. All right, and like I said, I'm just eyeballing this. So yeah, 15 degrees seems reasonable. Maybe 20. Yeah, that looks to maybe be about 20. Okay, cool. All right, so I just wanted that to be checked there. Great. Now I have this line angled. Great. Now I can go through and do my additional trimming. So go back to do my trim tool, because I just now want to chop away the rest of this rectangle so I have my little notches. And I'm just going to trim away anything that I don't need. There we are. And I'm going to go ahead and trim the rest of that line. Like I said, it didn't matter how long that line was. Chop there and there and inside. Great. Hit escape to clear out that tool. Now I have what will become one side of the pliers, continues through, other side. Now you'd want to say like, all right, we're all done now. Not really, because, but wait, there's more. Basically, I don't know how clear this will show up in my camera. On one side of this pair of pliers, it's just flat. Yeah, it's just smooth there. On the other side, you can see, I don't know if you actually can see, there we go. If I get the light just right, you can see there's a pin that comes through there. What we'll probably have to do is model that separately on one or the other pair of pliers, or sorry, the other side of this pair of pliers. So right now, I think this will work for now. Great. Okay, finished sketch. There we are. Oh, I could probably trim, see if it'll let me just select that one little chunk of line that I originally drew. Yep, I'll just delete that out. There we go. That will cause problems later. If you have intersecting lines like that, you can definitely have, when you go to extrude something, it's trying to basically extrude both things, and it can cause problems. So, all right. Now at this point, don't forget to save. Okay. Super good. That's still showing that line there. That's just a just an echo from the template there. That's all. Pardon. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to create an extrusion here. Now, with this pair of pliers, we're going to have to do some creative editing later, but for right now, we'll just do it this way. I'm going to go to the home button just so you can see where I'm working. It's a little bit easier now to see in perspective. I'm going to extrude. I'm going to select all three major parts. However, Ideally, normally you just extrude. Oh, hang on. Now that I've selected this, do y'all see this little red line here? That can be a problem. All right. Always check your lines and such. That's where I made an adjustment to there. Okay, so let me go back on that sketch, edit this sketch. You definitely want to address little sections like this. This will cause problems. So what this is from is that first rectangle going straight out, and the fit point spline that I drew between to merge my offset for the handle and there. So let me just trim a little section there. There we go. Because that would have tried to create basically two extrusions that were flush against each other, but they don't necessarily read that way. All right, great. Glad I saw that. Let's try that again. So extrude all three major parts. Now, ideally or normally, you would just extrude from one direction. Problem is this pair of pliers, it doesn't work on just one side. The actual split between what is the top, what I was just talking about, that has that flat spot, and then on this side, when you see the light catch just right, you can see the difference in where the pin is ground flush. That's all smack in the middle. That's where it hinges. So what you want to do is, rather than extruding all one side, and I'll just quickly measure how wide is this. It's about 6 millimeters wide. Not that big. It's a pretty small pair of pliers. Looking at your start profile plane, yeah, that's fine. We're going to actually deal with that on the lidded box example. Direction. I want it to go symmetric from both sides. And now the distance, you can set this. You have an example here, either half length or overall. Half length means if I was measuring 6, and I'll show you the difference here. So it's overall 6 millimeters thick. Well, tumble over and it's showing 6 millimeters on one side. It's going 6 in either direction. It's making it 12 millimeters thick. So go whole length. Now it's 6 overall. So it's actually extruding in 3 millimeters in either direction. And what I was talking about before, operation, new component. So I can just jump to a new component right out of the gate. Okay. And it made it full new component. Sketches are all still back there. Super freaking duper. So now I have that. Great. So what I can do is I could mirror this. And yes, I'm going to skip a step here and I'll go back and show you what I really need to do. But basically, to create the other side, rather than flipping the sketch and such, let me hide that component, rather than mirroring the sketch, which just gets really confusing, and I don't know what causes it, but I've had problems before, I'm going to just mirror the component. So you select mirror, type, want the whole component to that. Now, if this were just body, obviously you'd just select it as a body. And actually, there's nothing else in here, so I could actually select it as a body too. It'd be the same thing right now. But if there were more than just this, that's where it worked. But the mirror works off of not a line, but a plane. And since I'm working right along my center axis here, select plane. Now when I select a plane, the origin pops back up. And if you were trying to find that, let me see if it'll let me deselect this objects. There we go. Okay, so see how it disappeared? If you go to your hierarchy tree, origin is just that thing that pops up when you go to like make a sketch or anything like that. Unhide it, and it'll show. And that's your plane set. That's what I'm going to be working with. But it automatically hides once you start building stuff, and select mirror plane, pops back up. So that's how you can get back to it. I want across the XZ axis, so just the front face, plop. Make sure, new body. All right, that's fine. It's just going to make one body within this part here. Hit OK. It's got to finish up. Great. body 1, body 2, but I want these as separate, like actually separate components. So unfortunately, that one didn't give you the option to immediately make a new component. So now I'm going to select that whole body, but through my hierarchy tree, right click, create components from bodies. Or if you went to create new component, it's the exact same thing. Type, standard, new thing, from bodies, select the bodies. There you go. It's the exact same thing. You can just do it within a right click or through the tool drop down. Select OK, blam. Now you'll see in the middle, it does this weird hazy thing. That's because you have two exact the same size objects occupying the same space. Getting into time continuum issues here. Whoops. And it created that new component within there. Ugh. All right. I didn't want that to happen. You Control Z, body, right click, create components. Oh, it automatically didn't give me an option. That's all right. We'll deal with it later. Okay. But ideally what you'd want to do is, because this is obviously not complete, I need to make like the recesses, notches, and make it round, all that stuff. So I would not create this component first. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that entirely anyway. Actually, and delete that second body. There we are. So I want to do all my editing and such on this one. Then I'll make the mirrored copy. And then if I have to tweak it anymore, I can do that. So now I can play around with what I need to do. Meaning like right here, I'm going to do a fillet to round out, or I'm going to do 2 fillets to round out this, the tip of the pliers here. So let's try here. I want that line and make sure, yep, it got all that. Great. I also want that one. Cool. If you want, you could just do it numerically or a slider. Use the slider. See if it'll not freak out on me. It might. No. Come on. All right, let's see if it's gonna even let me. Order to return this. Yeah, probably not gonna let me do it that way. We'll try it. We'll try a couple different ways. Ah, there we are. It was just too large, that's all. One looks okay. You can fiddle around with some of the tangent weight is just like how effective or how aggressive your fillet is. So, and you can kind of max it out and then it freaks out on you. So getting somewhere. Oh, come on. It keeps working and then dropping out on me. So it looks like I could only go up to like 0.7. So maybe I'll split the difference. 0.6. Okay, sure, fine. But that's an easy way to make those sides. And you can play around with the different settings anytime. Corner type, rolling ball, setback. What's that do? Doesn't make a change on this one for this set of parts. So we'll just leave it as rolling ball. Rolling ball means like if you imagine a ball rolling along the inside of the object, that's how it creates that fillet. Constant chord length. Nah, no change on this one right now. All right, that's fine. Works for me there. Okay, so that automatically made those nice little round parts. Let's keep going. Fillets and such. Fillets for everybody. Same. Ooh, way too much. Apparently it filleted itself out of existence. Sure, 2.5, that works about right. Well, let's see if we can actually select all the things. See how far to let me actually build this out. Sometimes if you try to do too many edges at once, it just really goes nanners on you. And this is always the danger of the slider. You can go way too far and apparently cause your program to start crashing on you. We only want that at like 4, not 18. That seems far more reasonable. Okay. So you can see how fillets make it really easy to just kind of work your way around. And it looks like I'm getting a little bit of an odd error right there. So maybe we'll back that off to like 3 and see what that does. Yeah, there we go. It just overweighted it. Okay. Play around with it. Play around with the settings. These are the kind of things that you can just play with and tweak until you get something where you like it. Neat. That was pretty easy. So definitely make use of things like chamfer, fillet, and such. And again, I've altered my my toolbar. Remember, if you want to add things to your toolbar, open the drop down, mouse over whatever way you want, and the little 3 dots appear. Left click there, and it'll show up. You have pinned to toolbar, which is your toolbar here, and pinned to shortcuts, which is if you press S. These are your shortcuts, your search, all of that. All right. Got those parts. Now I want to make sure to make the little recess for the clippers there. So that's not quite a circle, but it goes close. Now, the reason I didn't add this to the sketch is because I didn't want it to go all the way through and such. So I will add a sketch, but I'm going to draw it on the surface of this part here. So if you're unsure if you're grabbing the right surface, orbit a little bit, maybe use the home view, that sort. So I want to draw on this surface. Now I'll go to the top so I can see what I'm actually doing. And it's not quite an exact circle. That's because it's a half circle out here. So if you want to make a kind of sort of circle or play around with your different circle tools, do it. And I was going to use like the line tool or the fit point spline, but think instead, I'm going to mouse down to my circle options and expand that out. I'm going to use a 2-point circle. And what that is you're creating a circle from 2 points from the edge points. So I'm going to start smack in the middle. Yeah. From here, you see how I can drag along that line, but I can actually draw the other one somewhere else. So let's see here. That's about an 8mm tool. So, or 8mm circle. So something like that. And something to, how big is that? Like 3. So it shows that it's like actually about 3mm up. So I'm just eyeballing from the grid. And that looks to be about 3. Actually, it looks like more, but that's okay. Okay, hit escape because I want to get out of that tool. And now I'm just going to trim these extra parts off. Don't want that one. Don't want those. Just want that little bit of arc. Great. Hit escape to finish there. And I do want to make sure, let's see here. If you mouse over the area, make sure that it's actually showing that it is a complete thing, meaning it's a closed circle or a closed drawing, closed sketch. If I tumble over, if I mouse over that section defined by that arc, Fusion assumes anything that makes contact with like an edge or anything like that, you don't have to draw the additional line. It's using the existing edge as a line. So great. I can hit finish sketch. Now I can hit extrude. And just in that area, now I can extrude downward and it's automatically going to cut for me. And we'll go somewhere, looks to be about, it's hard to get a ruler in there. So it looks to be about maybe, well, I'll tell you what, we'll go distance to an object, tumble down, other side, but I don't want to cut all the way. I'm going to offset it. So the thickness of that cutter area looks to be like 1.5 millimeters. So when we negative 1.5, negative, so it goes back up into. So now it's easier than trying to exactly measure. Now it's going to cut down, it's going to cut downward, but be shy of the other side by 1.5 millimeters. Taper angle, don't need that. Operation, cut. Yep, we're good. Okay, so that trimmed out that little chunk there. Great. Now I can tumble under and I can do my other side. So to create that little notch, that can be a little more tricky. So what I think I'm going to do actually as I was going to draw inside of here, or sorry, just like I just did, and then cut a wedge out. But I think what I might do is draw a little sketch inside and extrude that outward. And I'll show you what I mean. The easiest way to get at it is I want something, basically, I want to start a sketch that starts right here. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it this way, so let's try. Select Start Sketch. Yeah, it's not letting me select that plane because it's a round plane. Okay, so stop sketch or escape. So what I'm going to need to do is create a construction plane, like with the loft. Offset construction plane. Where's my origin? There we go. I want to make a plane right here, and it's hard for me to like demonstrate with just a mouse. So I want a plane that looks straightforward. Select there, and then the extent. I could either drag it. Where is my? There's my selector. Yeah, sure. Why wouldn't it be way up there? So I can drag it to there, or see if it'll let me to object. Yeah, there's no object there to select. So we'll just do the distance. And I'll just try to drag it right there. Where'd it go again? There we are. And if you can eyeball a lot easier if you're looking straight at. Cool, there we are. So see, I want it right on that line. Sure, great. Okie doke. Now I have something to work with. Create a sketch on that plane, but I want it in there. So I'm going to draw on that plane. Whoa, God. There we are. So this is where things get really confusing if you're trying to see from multiple angles at the same time. Remember, if you want to switch to multi-view, it's Shift 1. So Shift I, Shift 1, and that just brings up multiple planes at the same time. I'm just being able to see from all different directions at once. Sometimes I find this easier to work with this way. Sometimes it's also just a lot more complicated than it needs to be. So I was hoping I could see what I'm doing a little bit more easily, but I don't know if I am. Because basically what I do is I just want to draw a little triangle in here. Let me see if I can do it. I'm on this plane. How do I want to draw this? There. Maybe up a little bit. I don't know, 1. Yeah, that should be okay. Yeah, drawing this way definitely gets super confusing. All I'm trying to do is just draw a little triangle to chop that wedge out. Yeah, it's like 3 millimeters over, so that's fine. Tell you what, I'll tab over and say it's 60 degrees. That makes it easier. Great. Draw back over. Just made the little triangle. Okay. Where is it? And it drew it. Oh, I'm looking at it from the wrong direction. No wonder. Awesome. Completely opposite of where I want it to be. All right. Let's go back to the regular view we've been working with. All right. Well, that was unnecessarily confusing. Okay. So I drew a complete mirror of it. But what I could do then is I'll just flip it. So select this little sketch here. And let's see. I think there's an option. Nope, it's not on the move tool. Okay. So I'll tell you what, I'll just select that and I'll just use the mirror tool. And I don't know if it'll let me use just the existing line. Let's see here. Let me bring back the origin. There we go. So when you mirror something as a sketch, it just needs a line, not a plane. So I'm going to use that. I brought my origin again, and I'm just going to try to use the Z line, the Z axis line. Select that. Will it let me select it? Probably not, because it's not sharing that line. Okay. All right, fine. I'll draw another line on there. All right. Yes. We're working on the same thing. And it's going to make me draw an additional line. That is irritating. Okay, fine. We good now? Cool. Mirror that on that line. Great. Okay. Like I said, completely unnecessarily complicated. Cool. Now I can go back and just delete what I already made. Okay. And now I'll move it over. Yes, the whole to-do. I just want that inside there. Great. It looks like I accidentally didn't make that straight up and down, so I just got to rotate a little bit so it matches up. And of course, it's more than I need, so make it 2.5. I'm just trying to split the difference because it's only letting me move in increments of 5 degrees. Okay. We'll see if that just horribly overcomplicates things. Select that again, move it. I want it to be slightly below too, since it's just being problematic. Oh, come on. -1, fine. I don't know. -0.25? No. Oh God, that's causing all kinds of problems. Sure, whatever. This would have been so much easier if I got it in the right spot at the right time. Okay. I just wanted that little triangle in there, that's all. So hit extrude. There we are. I pull this outward. It's going to make a cut. I'm going to make it. Let me turn to the side so I make it as large as that inset is. Great. 7. That's all I wanted. Just to make that little notch. Okay. To recreate the little notches, the teeth on the surface here, it would be the same thing as we did for the bottle cap. Just looking at the time. So, all right. So that's one side of the tool. Now, what I was talking about before about mirroring, now would be a better time to do it. So let me save. Okay. So now I have most of the details that I want. I should add the teeth on the face, but for sake of time, let's just skip that. All right. So I'm going to select that body. I want to create a mirror. Mirror bodies, great. Operation new body. Yep. Mirror plane, origin plane selector pops back up. I want that plane. Blop, 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 blop. We're good. Okay. What happened? Oh, I accidentally select join. Hang on. My mistake. New body. There we are. And then I'll go ahead and create a new component from that body. Standard from bodies. There we are. Super duper. Pardon me. There we are. Okay. So now that side now shares all the features I want for it. So the last part, what I would need to do is I need to edit this center here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the new component that was created. And what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to recreate this notch, but because I want to bring in parts, I'm just going to cut a hole straight through. And I probably should have just done this before, but I wanted to give myself some options. So what I'm going to do is I can use the hole tool here. Select hole in that face. Let's see if it let me. Yep. It assumes that there's a, nope, it did not. Placement. All right. Never mind. That's going to be more problematic than I would like it to be. So I'll just sketch. There we are. Circle. Let's see if it selects right in the center. Yes, it's still there. All right. So my sketches are hidden, but because I created this center or this whole center circle with a circle, you see, as I mouse around and I get close to where I want, where that should be, my cursor switches to a circle. That's showing the concentric constraint. So it's right there. And it finds the center for me. I'm going to just go ahead and assume, because what I'm actually going to do is import a bolt here. So I'm going to estimate it as a let's say 6. How big is that? Yeah, 6. That's fine. Okay, 6, because I want to use a 6mm bolt. Finish sketch. Extrude right there. Start there. Extent type 2 object, because I don't feel like dragging that line all the way through. I can just select 2 object, select the other side of the face, and it chops it right through for me. Goody gumdrops. Okay, I have a hole in there now. But I also need to remove part of this. So what I actually want is I'll go back, edit this sketch, because I might as well put it on both sides. I want another circle right in the center and all the way the original size, 13mm. Great. Okay, finish sketch. Edit feature. Nope. All right, I want that all the way through. That's great. Okay. Now I'm going to add another sketch, or I'm going to add another extrusion. Let me unhide that sketch that it made there. And I want the whole top, but I want to cut down halfway. It was 6mm tall. There we are. Select OK. And I'll go ahead and hide those sketches now. Now it's hidden. So what I've done is I've made a hole, but also I've made it halfway thick because, like I said, this works on half and half. These aren't, that center isn't as thick as the whole plot set of pliers is. It's only as half as thick. So great. Now let me start the other one. I'll hide this component, or I'll hide that body, that component, whatever. Flip over, and I'm going to do the exact same to the opposite side. So create a sketch, this side of the project. I want to make 2 circles. I'm going to mouse around where that center should be. Great, right there. That was 6mm. There we are. We'll do another one. All the way to the edge, 13mm. Excellent. Finish sketch. I want 2 extrusions. One goes all the way through. So extent type, 2 object to the top. Chop, chop, right through. Great. It hid my sketches because it's a jerk and I wasn't done yet. Where did it create my sketch? Uh-oh. Oh, I accidentally created the sketch on something else. Ooh, where did that go? This is why it's important to activate your components, people. All right, tell you what. I don't even know where that just went. Let me just Control-Z back out of that entirely. Oof. Okay. Make sure you activate the component you are working on. I don't even know where that sketch had ended up. All right. Working now specifically on this part. Select the bottom side there. Sketch right about in the center. Is it? Sometimes it's really hard to see. Where are you? Not showing up at all. Let's go from the bottom, maybe. Should be right there, but it's not showing the center. Ah, there we go. Okay. All right. 1 circle. The other one is 6. Great. Okay. Pardon me. Okay. So now I got sketches on this component. Great. Extrude. Nope. I'm going to extrude. What is going on here? There we are. Definitely doing something weird. All the way through. Great. Now, again, since it automatically hides the sketches, now I want to extrude the other one because I'm going to use that as a cutting thing up through. So we'll do -3, cuts through. I'm going to hide those sketches again. Great. All right. So now when I unhide that other component or the body, you see now that it's made, I have it through half and half. The top part goes through the top. bottom part, and I'll just activate the whole thing. You can see it goes through the bottom side there. So that's one of the ways you can do the offsets. All right, so real quick, I know we're running a little late. I'll show you how to drop a part in here. I'll make sure to save. Insert. Go to insert. So I am, instead of like a mesh or anything else or a canvas or anything like that, going to McMaster-Carr. And like I said, this works exactly like the website. So I'm going to go to screws and bolts. That's what I want. We'll do a rounded head screw. You can play around with whatever you like. Sure, we'll go with a slotted head screw. That sounds nice. And again, these get decorative, and you can go down a total rabbit hole with this. But we'll just stay at that. And the size I want is an M6. The length, I know that screw, or I know that the my wrench is also 6 millimeters thick, but I need a bit extra so that I can catch a bolt, or sorry, a nut on the other side. So let's say 8 might be too little, but we'll try it out. 8 millimeters, great. And you still got to make more choices. Sure, fine, that one. That's just fine. So you go down to whatever selection you like. Look at the tool set here. This gives you all the dimensions for that exact one, blah, blah, blah. Look at the actual tool number or the item number. Select that, and you'll have a drop down. This is where you would add items to your order. Go to product detail. It's going to bring up a new page. This is where you can download an actual example. So the first right here, you see the little symbol, CAD. We're working in CAD. SolidWorks, not so much. It doesn't have a specific one for AutoCAD. So the one we usually use is SAT. And I will add that to the notes. All right, click download. It doesn't download, it automatically, oh my God, that is a huge head. So that is definitely not the one I want. So I'll have to go back and choose another one later. But there we go. If you want, you see on the selection here at the very bottom, capture position. If you want, you can drop it into place automatically or just leave it where it is and then move it later. So we'll click OK. There we are. But how you can do some of this stuff is you can actually drop it in place with a joint. So we haven't actually assigned joints to any of this stuff yet, and we are running late. So we'll move it in place later. For now, I'm just going to select this component, and I'm just going to get it out of the way. So I selected it by the actual hierarchy tree drop down, and I'm just going to use one of the sliders, move it out of the way. I can automatically select capture position, or if I don't, it brings up the capture position option. So yeah, I'll just snap it in place there. So, all right. So that's how I did the major modeling for this wrench. Putting a joint in is exactly like we did before. Select the joint tool, or for the drop down, same thing, joint. And we are actually wanting to put it smack between these surfaces. So it makes it a lot easier if you hide one and then do work on the other. So I'm going to hide one of the sides. I mouse over the hole, but it makes it sometimes hard to grab what I actually want, although the new selection makes it a little bit easier. So if I mouse over this plane, hold control, now it lets me select over there, over that space. Select there, that side ghosts out. All right, I unhide the other side, tumble under, or it's actually showing right there. It assumes that's where I want to put it also. Let's see if it'll let me. Nope. It's still kind of awkward to grab. So I'm going to hide the first side. Oops. Why isn't it? Why did it hide? Oh, because I hid the thing, not the body. Great. Sketch is still there. Jeez. Just trying to get in there. So on that plane, press and hold control. Now I can mouse over, smack, grab it right in the center. Okay, unhide that. Now I can actually see. Oh my God, that is not the joint that I want. So go over. I just want a revolute. There we go. Now it's going to go nanners on me for a minute until I set the constraints, but there we are. So just like before, now I have a joint. It's within this component. I meant to activate everything. Oh, I did. It's all right. I'll edit it and I can set my constraints. Minimum works, maximum. I can click. Remember, you can click and drag the little flags here. So as I zoom in, click and hold. Now I can use those. And that's why I made those little notches. And there we go. That's where I want that to be. Don't forget. Oops. Hang on. No. Oh, because it did both of them at 40. There we are. Okay. I just wanted the minimum at 0, maximum at 40 degrees. Don't forget, you have to ground one of the sides. So I'm going to do the red side. It's easiest to do if you click from the hierarchy tree, or I could just do the whole component, right click. Second option down, ground. Now that side will not move. So now when I can click and drag the other side and move it around by mouse. Chomp, chomp, chomp. There we go. All right. So I'll show you snapping the parts, the imported parts in next class. So reset the view. Don't forget to save. All right. There we are. So those of you that are still working on your bottles or your vessels, keep going. Don't worry about this. We're going to model another example of this next class because there's a lot of different options for this. So, pardon me, joints are the same for the vessels as they are for this. We're just using a different option for a vessel or for a joint, I'm sorry. And I'm going to model a container, a lidded container next class. We're basically going to be doing the same thing of dropping in found components from McMaster-Carr. We'll just start with those. So I'll put the assignment up after I retweak it, re-edit it. And you'll be choosing, or I'm going to decide if you're choosing one or the other. We'll probably just do one or the other. That way you have an option. That makes more sense. So there you go. But that is how to model a pair of pliers, and we will adjust, or we'll make the adjustments to the hardware next class.